What's up, guys? It is Will here, back again for another episode of Collectors Mingle. We got a very special show for you this evening because we got John from Queen Studios. And John, I looked up your title beforehand, Overseas Marketing and Sales Director, which I never knew until you emailed us recently. And I was like, oh, that's his official title. So, but it sounds right. It sounds about like what you do. But John, how you doing this evening, man? Thanks for joining us and answering our questions.
Yeah, doing good. Yeah. And yeah, the title doesn't really mean a lot. Do a bit of everything. That's
so
just
it's
the way
like
things go.
other duties is assigned on your job description. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yep. Man of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, exactly. I think we can all relate to that. So, but that's every job, you know, even in the States here, it's like other duties is assigned, and that ends up being like 40% of your job, I feel like. So just basically anything the company wants you to do. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But thanks for joining us, man. And guys, we're going to address the chat probably a little bit later, but since we're on a limited amount of time with John, and even for the panel members, I'll just go around asking real quick. Dante, Lael, how you guys doing tonight? Dante, we'll start with you. Thanks for joining, man. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Very good.
Well, you got Magic cases coming in, so you should be.
Finally, man. First of all, thank you for the invite. Nice to see everyone here. Lael, John, you, Will, everyone on the chat. Yeah, man. Mojo cases are on its way. I should get it by Wednesday, and it's probably gonna take me another year to build it. So just be very patient with me. Probably. Just be very patient with me. But I'm trying to pretty much remodel the whole office space here, which is very big, as you can see. So I don't know how long it's gonna take me, but hopefully, you know, the end result is exactly what I want. But happy to be here, man. I can't wait for the show.
Well, happy to have you, man. Definitely. And Lael, how you doing, man? Before we jump into our questions,
I'm building Legos. I just got off of Bricks and Brews, so I'm actually multitasking. I'm here with you guys, and I'm building Legos at the same time. So it's a beautiful day, man. And I get to talk to John about Wonder Woman, and he's going to tell me that I get one for free.
He's going to tell you everything. He's going to share all the inner secrets about Wonder Woman, bro.
Let's go.
So, all right, guys, let's jump right into this because, like I said, we want to maximize our time here that we have. We're going to go around sort of each panelist. Carlos was originally scheduled to be here, but he couldn't make it tonight. So what we're going to do, I'm going to start with his question first. I'll just take his questions, then we'll go down the list in order. And Optical should be here soon, and if not, I'll take his as well, but he should be here soon. So, John, Carlos's first question that he was going to ask you was, he was saying there's some concerns in the community about posing and that people don't really want another sideshow figure in terms of body. So can you tell us the process of InArt picking the bodies for these 6-scale figures? Is it similar to Hot Toys, or at least are you using the same factory that makes Hot Toys bodies? Like what's the game plan as far as bodies for 1/6 go?
Okay. Yeah. So you sent me all the questions in advance, so I want to try and read through the specific answers that were given to me.
Yeah, go for it.
So basically, I think some of the questions specifically are also about the photos as well. So the photos that we've shared don't show as much posability. So that's basically the samples we've got at the time. They are posable, but they've done it in a style of casting photos. So they're trying to catch specific scenes, specific moments, and they've not shown the full posability. In general, in terms of where they're made, we do have our own factories, and each body is designed specifically for that character. For example, we're working on the Black Adam right now, and that's going to take some time to make because the Rock is huge. So we're trying to get that body right. So everything's designed in-house, and then we're working with a factory that makes our own stuff. And basically, the joints should be all movable. And there'll be an instruction manual about all the different points of articulation once it's made. So it should show you the whole range. I think the best thing to do is, I can say this all day long, the best thing to do is just wait a month and we'll be able to show you, because the plan is we'll take these on the road, these figures. We're going to have around 8 or 9 figures by October, and then we'll start to show the full posability. I think that's the best way.
So are you referring to the Vegas event, John, the one where you're...
Yeah, so we've got 2 events coming up in October, one in Asia and one in the US. So the US is just a small event because this year we're not attending New York Comic Con, unfortunately. So we're going to take the figures on the road and give some 1/6 collectors the chance to go and show the posability, that kind of thing. And we'll be able to make more content once the final pieces are done.
Nice. Well, that sounds really exciting. So, Lael, you got the
Yeah.
next question on the docket. Do you have it pulled up, or do you want me to pull it up?
I think I have it pulled up. And my question is the level of confidence that you basically have, because we know that, again, not to bring up the competition, but, like basically there are issues when it comes to like release dates. They put up the actual release dates or the projected release dates, but then it changes. You know what I mean? And things like that happen. We know they do. My question is, how confident are you that you can sort of kind of like almost adhere or stay around the projected release dates for your figures?
Yeah, so for other companies, it's going to be a challenge for all companies at the moment, because most things are made in China and there's a zero COVID policy right now. So basically Chengdu, loads of cities in the south of China have just been completely locked down, so people can't even leave their apartment building.
Gotcha.
They can only leave for like the tests. So every company is going to be experiencing some delay here or there, either specifically at that factory or from a supply chain issue. So it is a challenge for everyone right now.
Gotcha.
But for us in particular, Viper, I've not seen him for like a month. He's gone down to the factory and he's living nearby, and he goes there every day and he's checking all of the whole process. So everything that comes off, they're checking it, making sure the process is going smoothly, overseeing the paint jobs, all of that. And so far we're on track. So it's looking good for now, but we don't know what the future holds. So
Anything can change. It's subject to change at any given time. Gotcha.
Yeah, but right now we're on track for the first batch when we said it was going to be released.
Okay.
Gotcha.
For Joker, you mean, John?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and that's like the end of the year, right? End of the year?
Yeah, and the first piece we're taking to the US and Thailand should be one of the production runs.
Okay. So it's like what you're actually going to get in hand, yeah.
Yeah, should be. So that's why we've not seen Viper. He's been trying to make sure everything's done on time, so we can take them on the road and show different people.
So he's yelling at a lot of people right now. Get it right.
Exactly.
Get it right.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's your first figure, John. So I'm assuming like there's a lot of pressure to get that one right because you want to make a good first impression. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and for us, we want to go to the US to speak to licenses as well, get more licenses, and take the real pieces with us, because once people see it, it's easy to believe than just this is a picture of a figure that we're going to make. So we know there's a lot of people that are sat on the fence right now, so we just need to prove it in the next few months.
Yeah. Okay, so Dante, you're actually up next. You have it pulled up?
Yeah. And so this question is pretty much kind of piggyback on the first one, and also my question. So you're talking about the Joker. How do you guys, I guess, that determine the pre-order windows for each figure? Is that depending on the popularity of the character, or is it gonna be something like what you guys did with the Joker, for example, that you have a window to pre-order specifically for, like, I don't know, a few weeks maybe? Would you reopen those windows after a certain window is over, or would you guys kind of like honor that first window?
Yeah, so the window thing in particular caused a bit of trouble the last time, because of how it works in general. Is that our company, once we set a time frame, that's the only time we'll take the orders. Usually it's a month. So if we're going to say to our distribution partners, this pre-order is a month, they've got a month to take their orders, and they can do one or two things with that. They can either decide they'll place an order early so they don't miss out, and they'll say, okay, I'll take, for example, with statues, I'll take 100 or 50, depending on the edition size. And then once they've placed that order, they can place more before the date. But once the date's cut off, we might not make any more. So with figures, it works slightly different, but what we're going to try and do is cut off the orders after a month, because we want to hit these deadlines. So the deadlines are important to us. So if we keep it open longer and longer, we're going to have to like keep extending certain things, and it really can affect the price and all sorts of stuff. So we want to try and cut that pre-order after a month. But like I was saying, it depends on the distributor, because if they place an advanced order, then it's up to them if they keep it open and keep selling. But for our company, we'll stop taking orders at that time.
So that's gonna be only for specific characters. Like, I think Pennywise didn't have a window to pre-order, unless I'm wrong.
Yes, So usually that we won't announce. We don't always announce it, but the distributor will know. Like we'll stop taking
Oh.
orders after this time.
Right.
Oh, I see. Okay,
And I
gotcha.
Yeah,
think
so
Dante with Pennywise, like Spec still has him, but I think all the other places he's sold out. So I think the window's probably closed on him, right, John? Is that right?
yeah. Basically, yeah, we'll just say to all of our partners, we're going to stop taking orders after this time, and then that way we can really ensure we're going to hit these distribution deadlines, essentially. Because if you start adding more in later, what you then end up doing is you have to go back to the factory and say, oh, we want an extra this amount, and then that can push things on longer for like the people that came in later, that kind of thing.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that's super helpful. But I had the next one, John, and I know what I had seen on the phase 1 list was the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. And from my understanding, the LE stood for limited edition. So can you clarify sort of what that LE stands for? And will the limited edition lines, if they are that, are they going to be numbered and very limited? Will they have like edition sizes that are announced? How's that like line going to, move forward?
Yeah, so at the moment, we're not 100% sure if we're going to have like a limited edition number on each figure. So that we have to consider closer to the release time. In general, this figure in particular, no one's really done it licensed, from what I know. I've seen a lot of like copies done,
unlicensed,
a lot of unlicensed stuff, but no one's done it licensed. So we've been speaking with Warner Brothers and DC about this, and basically they're saying if you're going to make this figure, it has to be a premium price, and it has to meet the exact specifications they want, and it has to go through a really rigorous back and forth process. Almost everything needs to be reviewed in detail. So they want to make sure that this figure, when it's released, isn't going to be something like a more mass product. It's going to be a little bit more exclusive. That's what they want. So it's going to be more premium price, and everything's going to be like that. So if we go down the route of limited edition and numbering everything, then we'll do that. But there'll be a set number, but it's something that we need to determine with the licensor closer to the time.
Gotcha. Okay. Did Warner Bros. Say why specifically they want that for Joker? Does that?
They don't always say why. Usually, just from working with, like, speaking with different licensing companies, when you speak to the licensor, they'll go to the studio that made either the movie, or if you're speaking with like a character company, it's whoever created the character or the persona, they want to have control that character and that story. And maybe if they see the Joker is not like a mass film or a bit of like an indie hit kind of thing, then they don't want to make lots of merchandise around the character. I'm assuming that's the case because no one else has done it at scale anyway.
Okay, gotcha. And so, John, I'm going to take Optical's question because he'll be here in a little bit. But I think this is a question a lot of people have been wondering. He had noted, he gave a little context. He said, we are spoiled here in the U.S. What type of after-sales support can we expect? Are you going to support the resellers with parts and exchanges? And how long will the wait period typically be? So I think there's a little maybe trepidation, hesitancy with U.S. collectors considering the products aren't licensed in the U.S., so we're having to get them from other distributors and retailers and things like that. So I guess people are wondering sort of without like a sideshow in the picture, do you have an idea of like how the replacement and exchange process is going to work in terms of like damage and during shipping and things like that? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so because these aren't licensed outside of China right now, it's very difficult to say what's going to happen because we can't control that. Really, what my main goal is to get more licenses, and we can then speak to this more openly and say this is exactly what's going to happen. But right now, we can't really control everything. That being said, the rules that are on our website, and I think we published this in August, is if you have a problem, you need to go to the person you buy from. They're responsible for going to the original seller. And every complaint that comes to us, we'll deal with each one individually. So if it's completely damaged, we can say, oh, we'll make a replacement. If it's just like a piece or something that can be repaired locally, we'll say, maybe you can repair it locally and we'll give you some reimbursement. But we deal with each case as it is. And usually the decision can be done within a day. But the actual replacement depends on the factory, what is needed. So we can't really give you an exact time because everyone's unique. There's no one case exactly the same.
Gotcha. Okay, but so like you said, there could be situations where like there's a reimbursement or something like that. It just entirely depends on each unique circumstance.
Yeah, and so it's really important that you choose companies that you trust, because they're responsible for the customer service, the direct customer service. Where if we don't have your order history, we can't say what's going to happen, because we don't know. For example, if you order an iPhone, you can't email the headquarters and they'll know what's going to happen. You've got to go to the store that you bought from, or a local store that's official, and then they'll say, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that makes sense. Optical, how you doing, man? Oh, you're muted, Optical. Oh, you're still muted, Optical. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, yeah, no, doing great, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man. We're happy to have you. And I just took your question, but you'll be up again in no
Yes.
time at all, man. So
All right.
yeah. But so I'm gonna jump to the next one. Carlos had another question, John. So he had mentioned, I know he had messaged you about this too, with House of Dragon being popular and InArt making the Game of Thrones line. He was wanted to know about a 1/6 Drogon or even other dragons from Game of Thrones. So maybe just even bigger pieces in general. Can you see InArt producing that type of figure, like maybe a Drogon or, you know, a bigger creature or something like that that's 1/6 but much more bigger, larger in scale?
Yeah, so at the moment, the development schedule's pretty full for the next, I'd say, 10 months, 12 months. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge for us to branch out. We want to really focus on the figures or the cars at the moment, the vehicles. So we never say never. It could change. I think we'd have to change the people we work with. So, for example, if we wanted to do this, we'd probably outsource some of the design, and then we just make it. So with Queen Studios, when we wanted to create like a Batman, Bloodstorm Batman, we chose a guy that specializes in that kind of genre. So if we did it, that's the way we'd go. But at the moment, it's not looking likely in the next 6 to 12 months.
Got it. Okay. But maybe in the future.
Yeah.
All right, Leo, you're up next, man.
Yeah. So, what is the process that goes into making sure that the production runs meet, if not succeed, the same quality that the prototypes display? Because, you know, like, for instance, you know, we get the prototypes, you know, with, you know, other companies, we see it and it's like amazing pieces. But then once we get, you know, the actual production run, it can be, you know, sometimes slightly, you know, in some cases you can get some that are slightly different and better, but in most cases you might get something that's different in the way that it's unrecognizable, or it'd be like, well, wait a minute, that's not what, you know, I saw, that's not what I expected. So, you know, within art, you know, especially coming out and this being one of the biggest, you know, especially with Joker, you know, being their first introduction figure, that, you know, people that are anticipating, you know, what is the commitment to making sure that it is almost, you know, close to the prototype, making sure that it, you know, does, you know, kind of give us that set level of satisfaction?
Yeah. So the question I have for you guys is: anyone ordered a Queen Studios statue before?
I have one right behind me, the Artist Edition Joker. It's incredible.
Okay. So how do you think it compared to what we showed on the photos?
Well, so it was interesting, John, because remember we talked about this, about the whole Viper miscommunication thing, about he was going to be painting them all. And I think a lot of us were concerned about that because we were like, oh, he's not going to be painting them. Is it going to come out as good? Dude, I messaged you, John, and told you this thing is incredible. I've been telling everyone that I got it. It's one of the nicest statues that I have, if not the. It's really, really good. So yeah, it came out great.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So basically what I'm saying that for is that it's just our philosophy in general. If we don't think it there's always slight variations. So even with any company, it's not going to look exactly like what you saw. Mm-hmm. But the goal is to either get as close or exceed. And as our company's philosophy is, if it's not as close as possible, we can't release it just yet.
Gotcha.
So that's where we're going for. So you should never get it and think this is like a wish version. It should be as close to that. It should be as close to that as possible.
Close to what we expected. The expectation. Yeah. Got you.
Yeah, because that production photo you shared of Joker, the 6 scale, looked really great. So I think everyone was really excited about that. So
yeah, and it didn't look like Will, so I was so happy about that.
Or Carlos, for that matter. So. So okay, so Dante's actually up next.
Yeah, I was on mute. I can unmute it. I can unmute it. Let me see. Where's the next one?
So we should be on number 8. How will
Okay.
InArt? Yeah.
So, okay, how will InArt approach the process of reissuing or remaking a figure? Like, are we gonna get? So, I guess what's has been happening is that we've seen from the companies like Hot Toys, for example, doing a lot of 2.0s, trying to revamp the figures that they did in the past. Will InArt have the same approach after a period of time, or once you guys do, like, for example, the Joker and Pennywise, that's gonna be a done deal?
Yeah, so this is a difficult one to answer because we don't know what the future holds in terms of like the next 10 years, for example. But in the next few years, it's very unlikely we'll do like a rerun unless we can do something really different, like very different. So that's the only way we'd re-release something is if it's very different. So with statues and busts, usually we can do something different, but with figures, usually because of the posability of the accessories, it's harder to do something different. I think with Hot Toys, I don't know what their process is, but maybe if the technology improves so much, maybe they feel we can get the lightness down. But for us, I think we're there. There's not much further we can go. So for the next few years, it's unlikely, but who knows in the next 10 years, 20 years, I have no idea. But for now, we pretty much listen to the community. If that's something they don't want, we'll avoid it unless we can do something new, different, or really, really improve.
Gotcha. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I have the next one, John. So I wanted to know, and I think this is a question we get a lot, and I just made it a little more general, but what film, TV, and video game licenses are InArt aggressively pursuing? And also, do you think obtaining U.S. licenses is realistic anytime soon for any of these properties?
Yeah, so at the moment, I've mentioned before on another stream that there's 2 licenses in particular that we've got the contracts for now, which are global. We're still working a few finer details out, and we're really pursuing those 2 at the moment. The next thing, there's not a lot of other things we're pursuing because the biggest thing for us is expanded licensing. So over the next few months, we're going to work really hard and try and persuade as many people as possible to expand our licensing rights. And that's the main goal. Once we've achieved those 2 things, get expanded licensing rights for existing licenses and sign the other 2 deals, we'll start aggressively pursuing other things. So when we come to the US or go to Thailand, we're going to speak with more collectors about different licenses as well, and then put a game plan for after Q1 next year, I think.
Okay, gotcha. So they're licenses you're pursuing, but you can't speak on those yet until they're finalized, right?
Yeah, and some of them, they say we can't announce it until a certain date, but we will announce in October unofficially.
Nice, dude. That's really exciting. So, and John, I know you had mentioned about video game licenses. They're a little bit cheaper to pursue, right? In general.
It depends on the license.
Okay.
Yeah, some of them are, some of them are not. A lot of, because we're a fairly new company to figures, like the established company is already in there. So if there's a company already doing something, they're more reluctant to give us that license. For example, Peaky Blinders, we contacted their company. They said they're already working with one statue company, one figure company, so that's unlikely. I think we tried contacting about the boys, but they've not really got back to us because I think there's a company making their figures.
Unfortunately.
So that's usually the case. They don't want 2 companies making the same thing. So that's where the challenge is.
Dude, that sucks, John, because people would be lining up for that. And Optical, you're muted, but I know you can probably speak to that one, considering,
They're still lining up on it.
yeah, right. Exactly. Even with the company that's making them now. But
See that Starlight? Oh man, my day was bright.
Unfortunately.
After I saw that. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I did. Optical, you're actually next.
Well,
Question
you can be
number
more specific when you ask video games. Well, like, are you guys going to get The Last of Us? Kind of like that.
Yeah,
that's what I need to ask.
He's trying to dance around. Just like,
The Last of Us comes up a lot, so we will look into that again. But we've got to really make sure we get the deals that are already in place done, and then we can go on to the next one. So The Last of Us comes up a lot, so I'll definitely be giving that feedback to the team because loads of people have asked for that.
John, yeah, I'm telling you, when you get Last of Us, your stocks are going to rise. Like
exactly, it's going to go through the roof, John.
Yes.
But yeah, Optical. So do you have the document up? It's question number 2.
Oh yeah, I'm next. Okay.
Yeah.
So
No time.
John, let me ask you, because I know a bunch of these guys. They do streams, and when we talk about InArt, I don't know about these guys, but the first question that always gets asked is like, where would I buy them? And this is a question that was, I guess, very controversial reseller that was, maybe like a few weeks ago, they posted something. So now I'm going to ask you, because I know there's not a clear-cut distributor here.
Yep.
Do you guys recommend a specific? I'm not saying like, because here in the US, which is mostly our viewers, they know where to get them. Sideshow. Since we can't get them from Sideshow, now we get asked, because like, where should I get them? And we can't answer. I can't answer because I don't want to put my name out there for some resellers that I don't know about. So are you guys working specifically with a specific seller that we can expect, like the service that we talked about earlier? Because we're spoiled here in the US. So we when something goes wrong, we're gonna, take out our pitchfork and all that stuff. So do you guys recommend something specifically?
So we can't recommend anyone because we don't really work with anyone outside of China. So all of our partners are inside China, and they can't sell. We've got rules with them; they can't sell outside. So there is a grey market out there that does distribute and resell, and that's something that the licensors and other companies put pressure on us to limit, and we do our best to do that. So our goal and my goal to talk with you guys is to really understand where the consumers are at now and what people want, because you guys buy what we sell, and we want to make the best for you. So in terms of the answering the sales questions, it's a little bit harder until we get the licenses and until we get an official distributor. So hopefully when we come to the US a bit later this year, we'll be speaking with some distributors. So then we can say, these are the guys you buy from, this is what you can expect. Until then, we're in the same situation as you. We can't say, you buy from this person. But this is a thing that happens. So it is a market. So like any market, you just have to be careful, read the reviews, speak to different people, and just say, have you bought from this person or this company? What do you think? Because essentially, we don't want you guys to lose your money. So you've just got to follow the best practices. Like if you buy from an eBay, you're going to check the reviews and reach out to a few people maybe. So that's all we can suggest.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, John, I have the next question here from that Carlos come up with. He had mentioned, aside from Back to the Future in the 2022 Batmobile, are there any talks for other vehicles? Because I know there are vehicle collectors out there wondering what InArt's going to do. Yeah,
at the moment, those two I've not heard a lot about. I think we're still working a few finer points, and we won't release something until we're ready. So I think once we've got those two in line, then we can start looking at other vehicles. Again, we probably need to speak to the community and find out what they want. A few of the older Batmobiles have been suggested. Maybe a kit from, what's it called now? The one with Hasselhoff.
Knight Rider.
Knight Rider, yeah. Maybe
I think we were talking about like Baywatch or something.
No.
Some like classic stuff like that. I'd love to see an 18 van, something like that. But we'd have to find out what the collectors want, what the vehicle collectors think that we could do. And first, we've got to make the first one, and then people will see the quality. I think that's where we're going to start.
Okay. Well, definitely interesting to hear on that one. And Lael, you are the up next.
Gotcha. So my question is, because we, pretty much is one of the questions that a lot of people want to know, especially, with, such a diverse culture when it comes to, just different cultural influences. Do you think there is a future in more diversity in figures outside of just sports? You know what I mean? That we'll have other IPs that, we can actually see more diverse characters in, especially within the license that you carry.
Yeah, there's definitely a future in it, but I think it has to be the right characters and good characters, because like there's so much. It's a polarizing topic, because when you see certain things made online, some people love it, some people hate it. And I think really it's got to be a good character. If the character's good enough, the people want the character. So I think that's what we're focused on. We don't want to make something just because it ticks a box or anything. We just want to make the best characters possible. So one of the licenses coming up will be a little bit more diverse, meaning non-Western. But that's as much as I can say right now, and that's not from sports or music. So
Gotcha.
hopefully in the future we will see a diverse array of figures, but it has to be character based.
Okay. Okay. So something basically more, again, it has to be, so in a sense, it's based off of the popularity, the more of the popularity of the actual character. And what you're saying is that they're more so gauging off of the responses that they get from consumers, in a sense.
Yes, essentially. So because we're still a young company, so it's a little bit harder for us to take risks with characters that we're not sure about. But in the future, the more support we get, the more risks we can take. For example, there's like Men in Black. We could do a Will Smith figure, but how many people like it? We don't know yet. So it's a little bit of a risk for us right now.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, Dante, you're up. Question number 13.
Lucky number.
I know, right?
So will InArt pursue any other like older licenses, like for example the Batman 1989, or will you guys pretty much continue with the current licenses or the current characters?
We will pursue some older licenses, but our core customer base is China, and a lot of the time the licenses, when they speak to a new company, they'll find out where your core customer base is, and that's where your licensing starts. So that's why DC and Warner Brothers all licensed in China, because we're a Chinese company. As the company grows, we can look for more global licenses, and then we can look at some of the older stuff as well. But we have to look at our existing consumer base here. So, for example, Batman 1989 is not a very popular movie, but there's some movies like Terminator and Back to the Future, that kind of thing, that sort of did cross over and still popular now. So it has to meet our core customer base here. But as our customer base goes overseas, we could then say, okay, we could do a Batman 89, and if the sales in China aren't good, then it doesn't matter. But we have to basically grow the company first.
I see. So, quick question: what is the in terms of popularity? For example, which one is the most popular? Is that Dark Knight or the new Justice League or?
The newer movie. So China's a complicated place because it didn't really open up until the late 80s. So the newer movies are popular, like Marvel's, like the Justice League, that kind of thing is really popular here. The Dark Knight is really like when I think cinema started to peak. So that's why we make a lot of Joker, Batman stuff from the Dark Knight, because that was the peak, 2008, around that time. Stuff before then, it has to be real classics, and people come back and watch it later.
So we should see a Batman then for the Dark Knight.
Yeah, there is a Batman plan for the Dark Knight.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and John, Terminator. Yeah, you mentioned Terminator in there. I know some people in the chat, and Predator possibly, but Terminator I think would really get people's attention. I think the Hot Toys are great. They're pretty old, but I think people are desperate for some good Terminator stuff. So if that's something you guys are pursuing, I know you already made the bust, right? You made the Arnold bust, I think, right?
Yep. That's something we are looking into. Might take a little bit of time. Hopefully, if we can come to US in October, that's something we'll continue talks with, hopefully.
Cool. Well, we have 2 more questions for you. I have the next one, then Optical the last one. And then after that, John, like you said, we still have about maybe half an hour. We could take some questions from the chat at that point. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so for my question, when can we expect to see actual like announcements, like pre-order announcements for the Phase 1 production list? I know there's a lot on that list. And I'm just wondering when we're going to see those, and when will the Phase 2 list be announced so people can kind of know what to expect in the future?
Yeah, so that one's a little bit tricky because basically it depends on the licensor. So what we're doing now is, like we've mentioned before, is we're really working hard on these licenses. So if we can expand it, we might delay a little bit just so more and more people come back. So I think by end of October, we should have more news on what expanded licenses we have, and then we can start announcing some firmer dates. But the next one, I believe the next release should either be the Paul Atreides from June and then the Aragon. But other than that, the dates are a little bit not as certain right now, just because we're waiting on these licenses and some more feedback.
Okay, gotcha. And the phase 2 list, that still depends on the licensors as well.
Yeah, I think once we've started to make progress with that, we can come out with some firmer. We can't give an exact date because the development timeline depends on so many different things, but we can give like an estimated quarter where we say, oh, it's going to be this time.
Gotcha. Okay, well, good to know. So Optical, you got the last one.
I got the last one. Look at that.
I know, right? That's for last.
Yeah. I want to ask you because, obviously, Hot Toys is the king of 1/6 right now. You guys are gunning for them. If you're not, then obviously that's. So the first head-to-head that we're meeting right now is Batman, Robert Pattinson. So I just want to know the thought process, because we know, like when you do rooted hair, that's what we're paying for, right? That is the premium that we're paying for.
Yeah.
But the non-deluxe version of Batman, which is the sculpted hair, is almost 30% higher than Hot Toys. Can you just walk us through the thought process? Because, like we would expect that if it's head to head and you guys are currently kind of like, let's say, a little behind because they're currently the king of the market. Why is it 30% more? And because obviously the collectors are kind of scared too. It's like they're not even there yet they're 30% higher. What happens if they get better? So can you just walk us through the thought process? Because, just so we understand, like.
Yeah, well, it's difficult for us to comment on the other company's pricing strategy because we don't know their costs. We don't know what goes into their pieces. So pricing is always difficult because you want to make it competitive where the customer knows, okay, this is the benchmark. This is everything else. I want to get close to that. And if it's a little bit more quality, I'll spend a little bit more. But then if it's really good, I might pay more. But then where's that line? It's very difficult for us to determine. So we don't really do our pricing exactly on what other people are doing. We'll do it based on what we're making. So our pricing essentially is based on the materials we use, the R&D time, production, all of those things. And that's where we land at a price. So the materials that we are using are quite premium. So that will push up the price a little bit. And we're not going to sell at a loss just because someone else is selling at a lower price than us. We have to sell at a price where we're comfortable. And maybe if it's not competitive, we can lower it a little bit and lower our profit margin. But essentially, we have to take everything into consideration and then say, okay, this is our best work. This is the price. If you accept it, we hope you do. If not, then maybe next time we'll have to rethink a few things, but we're not going to compromise on quality.
Gotcha.
That's yeah.
Yeah, no. So at the end of the day, quality is, and the premium of the materials, the premium nature of the materials is what really drives the price, right? So yeah.
Yeah, and if material costs go down, then our prices will go down. It's
right.
It's the market at the moment. There's, as you guys know, everyone knows inflation and cost of raw materials. All those things pushes things up a little bit. So that's what keeps costs high. And if those costs drop, then our costs will drop. But we have to take everything into account, and the quality of the final piece is the utmost importance.
Okay. Well, sounds good. And we got a super chat from Carlos. Carlos, thanks so much. So guys, if you want any ask any questions to John, drop them in the chat and I'll try to bring them up, ones that make sense. So Carlos, $4.99, how difficult and likely is it for InArt to get a Final Fantasy VII, Dragon Ball, or Last of Us license? So video game, anime type licenses. John, what's the likelihood and difficulty?
It's on two levels. So first one is, do we have the time to start working on them? And at the moment, I think the rest of this year, Q1, Q2 next year, maybe not. Then we'll have to look at, okay, is this popular? Can we make this? So do we have a passion to make it? And then we've got to go to the licensor and see if it's available and if there's no one else doing it. So some of these licenses, if someone already working on it, it's going to be hard for us to get it. But it basically comes down to those three elements, essentially.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, and like I said, we're hopeful that some video games can be represented. Let me see here. So I know someone was asking about the Batfleck. So which one would be released? Is it from Justice League or a chance on Armored Batman? Can you speak to that one, John? Because I know there is a Ben Affleck Batman coming, right?
Yeah, there is. It's a bit hard to say now. I can't remember from the line list which version it is. It's likely it could be from Justice League. But I'm not 100% sure. And I think we are looking at an armored Batman. I know we are for our statues,
Okay.
And I think eventually we could be looking at for our figures, but the timelines right now are a little, and the character lists could be changing a little bit depending on the licensor. So it's a difficult one to answer right now.
Right. Well, we got another one, Sean Bean. Thanks so much, Sean Beam. Let's see. So do you happen to know if the other Batman figures will be presented as Batman and Bruce Wayne, like the Pattinson Batman? So I guess like he's asking about 2-packs or sort of like, kind of like how you did with the, with the Bruce Wayne from Pattinson. Is that going to be the case for Bale and others?
Could be. Right now, I've not seen it in the works, but there's no reason why they wouldn't change it if it's deemed popular. I think what they'll do is they'll review the first pre-order from this one, see how popular the 2-pack was or the individual Bruce Wayne, and I think if it proves popular enough and people want it, they'll make it.
Right. Yeah. Well, Austin McLean dropped a super chat as well. Thanks so much, Sean Bean, by the way. I saw Harry Potter is being brought to Vegas. Will it just be him? And is he only available as sculpted? Will he have rooted hair? And 66 Batman, he wants to know as well.
Yeah, I think the one we bring to Vegas, we'd have written if it was sculpted hair or rooted hair. I can't remember on that. We're working on another project right now, and that we'd hope to reveal at that time. So I can't say too much about that right now. But we will be bringing something to either Vegas or Thailand.
Okay.
And then, the 66 Batman, again, that's unlikely for a few years, I think.
Okay. Well, Joker J had a good question, and I want to make sure I'm understanding this one. Can you estimate by ratio how many mainline characters have to be produced to allow financial wiggle room for taking chances on sublines? 10-1, 15-1. So can you speak to that one, John? I don't know if I fully understand the question, but
yeah, so that's a hard question to answer as well, because I don't run the company, so it depends what
President John.
It depends what risk they're willing to accept. So I think at a certain point, if you've made enough profit off of one, maybe you can afford to take a risk somewhere else. But the R&D time on these figures are usually months and months. So it's a lot of investment for something if it doesn't pay off right now. So I think that's a really difficult question to answer. But I think in the future, as we get more support and we can sell more and expand our licensing, we can take more and more risks. But we're just not there yet.
Okay. Well, Clutch, the bat signal, he asked, will the bat signal be powered by USB or batteries? Do you know that?
I think we answered that in the blog post. I don't want to say now because I can't remember the answer.
Gotcha.
But let me check the blog post, and it should be written in the blog post. If it wasn't updated, I'll make sure it's updated today. So by Monday morning US time, it should say what it is. But
okay,
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, well, Pedro has one. And after this one, I want to see if the panel members have any other questions they want to ask you. But Pedro said, price points on life-size Elitas will be available for U.S. buyers, also payment plans be an option. I guess that part will depend on who you buy it from. But, John, is there a life-size Elita for U.S. buyers?
Not just yet. So we're hoping to... So our original license we had was global with Elita. But then since then, they were bought out by Disney. And it's a little bit harder to get global licenses from Disney. For various reasons. So at the moment, not just yet, and payment plan depends on where you buy. We're working more on payment plans direct on our website, but for the Elita, at the moment, not directly from us.
Okay. Do you guys, Leal, Dante, Optical, do you guys have any questions for John that you can think of off the top of your head before I jump to, it looks like Dan and Dre?
Yeah, I have a quick question, actually. How I know the Joker is set to release in December. How far are you guys from the final production, and when will you guys start showing up like the final product pictures, or at least kind of showcase so people can see before it's actually shipped out to them?
Yeah, so October is the date. So by October 15th, we should have the production piece of the Joker. We should have. It's limited. I don't think we have all the different variations, but we will have at least one or two, and we'll take them to Las Vegas for people to look at and to play around with.
And one quick question, just so everyone is going to ask, and I don't know if you know this answer, but a lot of people ask me this question, and I think it's interesting because I don't think it was asked many times. But in terms of the box, as you know, some other, like Hatos, for example, has some plastic, covers. Is this because of the premium price that we're going to be paying for these figures? Or those going to be like a foam or some type of special packaging to protect the figure even better?
Yeah, so that question, someone did ask me that before, and I've not seen it. Usually with the boxes, we don't really find out until they're ready to ship. So usually they'll take in all of that into account. Viper in particular is very meticulous, so he'll be choosing what he thinks is the right. So if he thinks foam is the right way to go and it's more premium, he'll go that way. And I think that's probably the way we'll go, but I don't know until probably November or December when things are starting to move.
Fair enough.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm gonna jump in and take Dan's question here. He wants to know, John, anything Predator or Alien in the works in the future for InArt? Appreciate you taking the time to talk to the community.
Yes, so Alien Predator is, I believe, part of the Warner licensing company now. I believe.
Okay.
So because we've released an Alien recently, I might be wrong on that. Actually, it might be. Well, I'll find out where
remember.
that is.
Was it Fox? I don't remember. No,
Oh
it was,
yeah,
Fox is
20th
Alien.
century.
it's
Yeah,
Fox. So does
it's
Disney
Disney.
own that now? Yeah.
I think
Will be.
yeah, because they just released Predator on Hulu, which is owned by
Yeah.
Disney.
So Disney would own that now. So Disney would hold the Alien rights probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Disney
if
owns
it's-
everything.
If it's from Disney, then it's just going to be a lot harder for us to get the global licensing rights. We might look at something in the future for China, but I think we'd probably wait until we can expand our licensing rights before we look at Alien and Predator, because they are really popular globally. So we'd want to make something more global.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dan and Dre. Blue Tattoo said, will any Batman have good enough articulation to crouch/perch on a gargoyle or bat signal? I think it's important for Batman to have good articulation. That's a tough one. I don't know if I'd leave my figure in that pose long term, but what do you think, John?
I think we'll be able to show you in October. It's difficult to say right now because I've not seen the final pieces, but articulation's the question that comes up probably the second most after licensing. So I think it's up to the team to really show everyone by October the points of articulation and how it can pose and all of that, the range of motion. So I think it feels like a long way away, but it'll come fast. So by October, we'll be able to show everyone how poseable everything will be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to take Carlos's real quick, and then I'll jump back to the panel and see if you guys have any more. Carlos wants to know, will you be completing the Justice League line in Phase 2? So do you know anything about that, John?
Yeah, not yet. Like I said before, it comes down to if we can get these expanded licensing rights, then we can start looking at developing the next line plan. But I think a few things are waiting on the production pieces and licensing, and then we can start ramping things up again.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, Optical or Layout, do either you guys have like a maybe off the cuff type question?
With the Wonder Woman figure, do you know which version it's going to be? Is it going to be her standalone film like the 84? Is it going to be Golden Armor, or is it going to be Justice League?
It will. I don't think it's the Golden Armor, but I don't know
cool.
which one it is. If it's Justice League or if it's a standalone movie, I think that there's slight variations between the two, and I'm not sure exactly which one. I just know for sure it's not the Golden Armor yet.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's cool though, Leo. You're gonna be happy either way, man. So it's gonna be badass, man. If you get the solo film or you get the Justice League, it's still gonna be really cool. So Optical, do you have anything maybe off the cuff that you can think of you want to ask?
No, I was just asking Carlos because my first question apparently was answered. So
Gotcha.
I was
Okay.
late. Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Yep, everything was answered. Robert had asked this, and this is something I think, John, that comes up a lot. Selena Kyle Catwoman from the new Batman film. Are you guys still doing the Mara figure, considering all of the public criticism and spotlight Amber Heard has on her? And that people want to know if you're replacing her with Selena Kyle Catwoman, maybe, because I know people are pretty hungry for that figure.
So the Selena Kyle Catwoman, I think I spoke with Lael about this before. I think he asked this question. So that's one that I'll push for,
Right.
because it's not in the line plan for the next 6 months. I know that. So I'll push for at least after Q2 of next year. the mirror, I advised against that just based on how things are going, but I don't know how you guys feel about
I
that.
would probably advise against it. I don't know what the panel thinks, but I would probably say
You know
not,
what?
not the producer. But
If you did it, listen, I'm looking at the film. I don't care about what she does in her personal life, and outside of just the film itself. If it looks good, me myself, I'd get it. You know what I mean? Because again, I kind of disassociate the figure from what, or the character from what goes on. Because if that was the case, I'd have got to get rid of my Flash Ezra Miller a long time ago. You know what I mean? But I didn't. You know what I mean? So I kind of disassociate myself from that. If they do it, they do it. You know, it is what it is. You know what I mean? And I'd probably get it because I mean, aesthetically, the figure on film looked okay. You know what I mean? But still, push for that Selena cow because I definitely want that.
yeah.
Go for Mira. I just want Lane to be happy.
Yeah, right. Lane will be happy if he gets a mirror. So
a lot of people will be happy for
there's
a
a J&D out there. So, I mean, it's, it's not all lost. InArt doesn't have to save us on this one, but, it's. So, John, can you speak to, I don't know how much you can say about it, but you mentioned the Disney licenses and how difficult they are to get. Since Disney owns so much, is there a reason those licenses are so difficult to get? Do they have like their own sort of companies they already work with that they just prefer, or how's that work?
Yeah, so again, they're also, as a company, they don't like us talking too much about how everything works because they've got the processes. So in their contracts, they have to be very careful with what we say. But in general, they start with, where are you based? So are you based in China? Are you based in the US? And you start with your initial market. And then if you prove yourself, you can expand outwards. If there's an existing partner within a specific territory, then they encourage you to work with them. So we could do the development, someone else could do the distribution. So that's usually how it goes. But what they're really big on is they don't want two companies making the same thing and competing directly. That's their decision, and that's how they do things. But they don't generally do that. So that's why it's a little bit harder. For example, everyone asks about Star Wars. Can we get Star Wars? And we've spoken to Disney, emailed, done everything, and I think because Star Wars as a license has been around for so many years, they've got their existing partners, and because those partners have been working on the older Star Wars stuff, when the Disney Plus comes around, they're the first guys in at the door, and it's a little bit late for us. So that's the main challenge.
Gotcha. Would that change, John, maybe for statues? They already have the partners they work with for those too, but does that make it a little bit easier? Is 1/6 a little bit higher of a bar?
1/6 is a higher of a bar because it's like one of the biggest sellers, whereas the statues and busts are more niche. The figures are a little bit more mainstream, but not completely. So it is harder for 1/6, but even statues and busts, it's really, really hard to get. Star Wars or a lot of Disney movies.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, and John, I wanted to ask too, but I know you say you don't really know much about packaging. Like with the Joaquin and that type of line with limited edition, would any of these figures come sort of like how the statues do with plaques or anything like that? Or is it too soon to say?
The 2019 Joaquin Phoenix Joker could do
that
because they want us to do something different and premium and special and unique. So that could be the direction we go with, but I don't know. For our half-scale Joker, we made like a solid Joker sign. It just says Joker and it's solid metal with like a black cover, and it's really heavy. And we did that with our half-scale statue. So we could go down that line, down that route, but until the release, I don't really know.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Because because I have the like I said, the quarter scale artist edition Joker, and that plaque is really cool. And Viper signed it, so it's really cool. But so Carlos had asked John what qualifies as a character being popular. I thought Mira was popular. I mean, the actor is not, but I do think, John, like, how do you guys quantify that? Do you have like, I don't mean to ask like sort of how your market analytics work, but like too intensively, but like how exactly do you guys do your research with that kind of stuff? Like, how do you determine popularity?
Yeah, that's a tough question to answer as well, because really what we think is sometimes popular doesn't work out. So
Right.
So it's not always black and white. It's a little bit more in the gray. We don't really know. But if another company's made it in the past and have done well, and we think actually we could do something different, or maybe go one step beyond in terms of likeness and quality materials, then I think it's a little bit easier for us to make that assessment. For example, the Batman and Joker from the Dark Knight, they're proven because companies have made them time and time again, and we've just got to make something a bit more either unique, different, or really improve the likeness. With other things, it is harder, and we're just looking at basically what you guys suggest. Also, we're looking at analytics for like search volume, that kind of thing. If it's a new movie, for example, someone came to us a few years ago with the Vin Diesel movie where he's playing like a superhero. I forgot what it was now.
Chronicles of Riddick, is that it?
No,
Probably Bloodshot.
Bloodshot. Yeah.
Oh, Bloodshot. Okay, yeah.
Someone came up to us with that, and at that time, Vin Diesel was just quite big again because of the Fast and the Furious. So really, you're gambling if it's popular. So it's really hard to say. So luckily, we didn't do that because no one ever talks about that movie. But with Mira,
No.
Mira is really popular because of how aesthetically she looks, but as a character behind the scenes, like Leia was saying, it depends on the person, so it's a bit of a risk. Some people equate the actor to the character, so, but others don't. So that's where we want to take that risk now? That's the question we want to answer, and it's hard to answer.
Do you do you know, John, like how quickly in the process the edition size is determined? Because I know you had mentioned, like, just throwing out some numbers, like Pennywise maybe being like 1,000, Joker being 15K, stuff like that. Like, is that determined like right at the end of the pre-order window? How is that determined? Is there any sort of cutoff where you consider like a figure like a failure, and anything like that?
Yeah, so that one, everyone's different. Like, it's like comes down to the pricing question. So what is the price? Well, it depends on how much everything costs. So
gotcha.
When you're doing the business aspect of things, which is a little bit more boring, you've got to work out the break-even point.
Right.
And when you find out the break-even point, you've got to figure out how many figures you need to make. And that's the target we'll go for. And then after that, we'll look at the what we want to make to like exceed that kind of thing. So usually, if it's a failure or not, it's whether we broke even or lose money. And usually we establish the final order size based on the month order window, or if it's 3 days, that's usually where we'll set that line in the sand.
Gotcha. Okay. And Carlos, I think, John, you had referenced this a little bit. Are collectors going to be allowed to touch and pose the figures at the Vegas event, or are they kind of going to be off limits?
So I still need to confirm what can and can't be done right now, but hopefully yes. But there's certain accessories that might be on the outfit itself, which might be a little bit more delicate. So, because not every piece is the final production piece. So, hopefully you'll be able to pose a little bit, or someone will pose and you can like video or something like that. But we want to show the full range. Yeah.
And I think the last question we have for you, John, is any extra figures? Are there going to be extra figures made sort of after the edition size announced? Like maybe when the release comes out, like, okay, we've made 500 more. Is InArt going to take that approach?
It's unlikely because usually once we've made them, we've made them. To go back again and start another run's a little bit more challenging. So usually we don't do that.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, good to know. Good to know. So people, if you want your pre-orders, you got to get them in those windows, I guess, right? Or as long as the retailers have them. But guys, do you have any other questions that you want to ask John before he heads out?
I have a quick one. So since Pennywise is a horror figure, right? And you guys pretty much announced it. Is it any other character like from the horror movie that you guys are thinking about releasing, announcement anytime soon?
I think there are, but I can't announce it just yet. So I need to follow up with the InArt team and say if the contracts are signed, that kind of thing. Because even if it's like Warner Brothers is the holding company of all the licenses, below them they've got the studios that make the movies. So you have to sign separate agreements. So just because we're working with Warner Brothers and they have like a horror film under their umbrella, it's not as easy to just say, we're doing it now, because they've got a license. So I think we'll be announcing more once those deals are done.
Okay.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Well, yeah. So, and we'll just hit Pedro's and then Carlos's, and that'll be it for John. But any plans for more ScarJo statues, be it from Black Widow, Ghost in the Shell, or Under the Skin, asking for a friend? I see the avatar checks out.
Yes,
so.
Avatar. Yeah.
So, probably, I think so. But again, the timeline's really hard right now because we as a company, InArt has been around about a year now working on things. So I think we're just going to take a little bit of time, and then we can start looking at those kind of things as well. But I can't answer right now. It's a little bit hard, that question.
And final question, John, is life-size Black Panther still happening? Carlos really wants to know.
Life-size Black Panther. I don't think so, but I'll follow up soon on that one. Hopefully by Vegas, I can give someone an answer if anyone asks again. Okay. I'd like to see it because the second movie is coming out soon, right?
Yep, comes out in November, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see it. We're working on a few different Black Panther pieces, but facial likeness is really hard at the moment because you've got to get the approval of like the estate of his family, but the mass version is a little bit easier, but I'm not 100% sure.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for the questions and for the panel for coming up with awesome questions. John, is there anything maybe you want to share? And thank you for your time again, man, for joining us. And is there anything you want to share about Vegas or anything else before you run?
I think the main thing is that the event itself, I think it's very limited in terms of capacity. So if anyone is interested in going, we will be announcing to more people later this week. So we'll start selling tickets this week as well. Everything's booked on our side, so it's going ahead. And what we're aiming to do is bring those figures out to the collectors, and hopefully people will see for themselves. This is exactly what we've been saying. It is what it is. We're the real deal, and we've just got that to prove in October. So even if you can't go to the event, there will be images and videos. I'm sure they'll be circulating online, and then hopefully more and more people will be happy with what we're doing, and then we're just going to work really hard on the licensing in the next few months to make it more accessible for you guys.
Yeah, cool. Well, it sounds good. Yeah, like I said, I'm hoping to be there, and I know a couple of us are hoping to go to that one, so it should be pretty fun. But yeah, John, thanks so much for joining, man. Like I said, anytime you want to come back on, let us know, and yeah, man, you did great. You had some really good thought out answers for these questions, so we appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks a lot, guys.
Cool. All right, John. Well, have a good one, man.
Yeah, you too. See you later.
All right.
See ya.
Bye. Cheers.
All right, guys. So as we round out the rest of the live stream, we're not going to go too much longer. Is there anything like major takeaways that you guys have from what he answered that you kind of want to throw out there real quick that we can discuss? What's up, Leia? Fill us in, bro. Fill us in.
He pretty much let me know that there's no popularity in ethnicity, plain and simple. And that's concerning to me. That really is, to say that some of these characters, some of these, there's representation all through the MCU. There's representation through DC, and Warner Brothers. You know what I mean? So, to say that there is no that it's based off of popularity, what you're saying is based off of popularity in your market. You're not looking at other markets. You're definitely not looking at the market over here, because these characters are popular. They do basically carry a high level of popularity. To say Will Smith, you're basically already you're pointing out one troubled character right now in Hollywood that nobody right now is really talking about. You know what I mean? Because of what actually happened on the Academy Awards. We're talking about now. You know what I mean? We're talking about figures such as Cyborg, who's part of the Justice League. That's why he couldn't answer that. You know what I mean? We're talking about characters such as Selena Kyle. There was no answer there. You know what I mean? There are other characters in Warner Brothers that are popular. If you're doing the Matrix, you have Morpheus. That's a popular character. People would love to actually see that character. So to make that statement to me, again, I just got to speak my truth and be completely honest. That was bullshit to me. You know what I mean? It kind of felt, I was disheartened by that, but again, it is what it is when it comes to that company and what they stand for. right now, to be quite honest, when it comes to a lot of ethnic characters, Hot Toys is winning. They're winning. And I kind of and it's good to see. But again, you know, that's basically what they're saying. Like ethnicity in figures, like somebody said, doesn't make them money. If it's not something that they see, because what they're saying and what he said is, if it's a trouble character, or if there's, you know, if it's not really looked at and they see that the discussion comes with a lot of controversy, then whatever. I mean, it is what it is, bro. I mean, you just basically told me how how that company basically feels about having minority characters and releasing figures. You just let me know. And the one thing I will say is that I appreciate his honesty.
Yeah,
I really do
honest.
appreciate his honesty, even though I disagree about it. Again, it is what it is. So that's all I can say.
I appreciate that sharing the thoughts, man.
Definitely, bro.
So, but yeah, man, like I said, it was there's a lot of like interesting stuff in the in the answers there. I feel like just it, in terms of like production runs and like Lael said, diversity and a lot of things there. That one thing that I thought was really interesting myself. I don't know if you guys want to speak about this real quick, but like Optical's question about sort of the aftermarket, like services. Optical, I don't know if you had gotten in here when he had answered that one, but he was saying basically that
you're on your own.
Yeah, well, like kind in a way, right? Like it was like he said basically like they could do sort of reimbursements depending upon the damage, or if you can get it repaired locally, they might do that. And like it's not, I don't think it's going to be Sideshow. You know what I mean? It's not going to be that type.
And that's one of the concerns that I have. That's why my question's a bit more different than who you make and all that stuff. Because if it works, even Hot Toys, they're great, but most of the time they don't work as well. And having Sideshow, and for all of us panels here, if we buy from whatever Hong Kong reseller, which is only where you can buy them right now, if they find out that we do this, we're gonna get some special treatment. But I'm worried about those people who doesn't do YouTube, right? Like, and I'm legitimately saying that because this is $500. Like when I buy somewhere else, I don't announce myself. It's like, hey guys, I got a YouTube, so can you take care of my package? No. But he answered it, and if you read through, his answers, basically you're on your own. And we complain for a $250 figure if there's a wrinkle on the neck. How would you react if you buy something for $1,000 and they tell you contact Kit Chen, and Kit would be like, send that back? I mean, I just spent $1,000, man. Kind of like, that's the thing. Like he answered it, which is cool. I love it. But the answer was just like, well, that's why you got to do your research. It was like, can you recommend somebody? Like, that's why I want to know the process, because he keeps on saying, hey, you know what? Technically, they're not supposed to sell outside of China. Yet here you are in a US based stream. You're obviously promoting it to us, which is the US audience. That's why you're going to Vegas. If the primary concern is China, you wouldn't be in Vegas. Yet here you are. But when it comes to aftermarket service, after sales service, well, you got to contact your retailer. Kind of like, all right.
I have a comment about that too. He's right. I mean, we're on our own technically. I mean, if you buy from just T-Dubs, for example, right? I mean, you're your own, right?
Definitely.
And this is the thing. Like, we don't have any official distributor here in the US, so whatever we buy from is going to be someone else. And whether the figure is in good condition or not is our own risk that we're taking. So if you put in $1,000, is pretty much your own risk, whether it's good or bad. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think at this point is really, he's right. He cannot recommend anybody because he can't recommend anybody.
No.
But at this point, if we are making a decision of buying this figure, which Joker have already pre-ordered, and Pennywise, through XYZ stores, is my, again, if the figure is effective and the other party doesn't want to help me or anything, is my risk. I'll make the decision. I might put a gun on my head. We just need to be very careful who you buy from. Obviously, the people that I pre-order and all that are reputable, and I can, we have some relationships, so I'll be confident that if anything goes wrong, I can get some type of help, right? But still, it's a risk, because what happens if they can't get the help, even though they're like the best resellers in the market? That's the fine line between being authorized seller and reseller. So it's always going to be that, I guess, controversy when we buy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely something to think about. I mean, because I got mine from 1/6 Kid and Spec and things like that. So I mean, they've always taken good care of me. But you know, I like I said, I have faith in them. But I mean, and like with the InArt statues or Queen Studio statues that I have gotten, I've gotten 2 Jokers and they both arrived perfectly fine with no issue. Doesn't mean it couldn't happen in shipping with a 6 scale figure, but yeah, man, there could be things that go wrong, or maybe like moving the eyes around, you fuck something up or whatever, right? So it is, that's probably, I would say, the most concerning thing thus far. And that's not new to this stream. That's something we've said for a while, right? It's, you know, that's why, like he said, though, I think one thing that he mentioned is one of the biggest priorities to them is getting a global license, because then they can get a distributor, and which is probably going to be Sideshow. I don't know if Hot Toys, you know, maybe Optical, it's Big Bad, right? Maybe it's something like that, or
right. Because
like,
I was
Spec
going to
Fiction.
ask. I was going to ask him, was like, because right now their bread and butter is obviously Warner. Could they possibly bring that? Because they could have Disney for, like, if Hot Toys, who's a company who's been, you know, with us for like 20 years, still makes mistakes, you know, like pegs here is broken, you know, the head sculpt doesn't fit. How much more so this new company that's starting? And not only that, they upcharging, even though they don't have rooted hair in that Batman. And I mentioned it, it's 30% more than Hot Toys. You know, it's like it's 30% more than the King. It's kind of like, you know, but he answered the question by not answering. It was like, basically, you know, you're on your own. We technically, he said that our distributors are only supposed to sell in China. I was like, we know that. Yet we are importing them, right? Like, so I want to know what kind of support you are giving Kit Chen or Giant Toy. Are you giving them parts to send to us? That's what I want to hear.
But see, that's
technically can't, you know.
I didn't get. See, that's what, and people are saying it like, it's weird to me that you're saying that pretty much over here we're on our, in a sense, you know, saying that we're on our own if there are replacement pieces needed. But yet you're coming to Vegas to show off the product.
Right.
You're coming over to the United States to show off the product because, of course, you want us to buy into the hype. You want us to purchase the actual figures. You feel as though that there is a market for it, but you're basically not giving us the reassurance that if there is a problem, we can contact someone about replacements. Because right now, pretty much everybody is getting that figure overseas. You know what I mean? Pretty much that's where it's coming from. If you're going through, even if you're going through Spec Fiction, you're not guaranteed at that point that, you know, there's going to be replacement or options for replacement on that piece, because like I said, we know that it's a limited run for right now, correct? You know what I mean? So how do we know? That's the problem. But yet you're trying to push it over here to gain that level of confidence from us, and to say that, you know, whatever you're putting into what we're putting in that figure, we stand by. You know, we stand by that piece, and we're letting you know that we're bringing you good product. Okay, I get that, but we still want to know that, okay, what if one of the accessories or something's missing? You know, we don't have all the accessories, or if something goes wrong with the magnetic, sculpted arms, or if something goes wrong with the stand, whatever, or the, you know, the actual stand for the figure, because it's magnetic. There's no crotch grabber. There's no waist grabber. Like, how do we know we're going to be? I mean, I guess that's what I'm. Right. That's one of the biggest questions there.
Right, and I think the question shouldn't be more for the actual store that we buy it from. Like, hey, what is the assurance we have if something goes wrong? Because remember, not necessarily, you know, let's say Kitchen, for example, just throw an example. They're gonna get it straight from Queen Studio. Maybe they got it from someone in the middle who's gonna give it to Kitchen or like that. It could be anything. So we need to basically ask the question. But that's why John cannot say, oh yeah, we're gonna support, because they don't even know how these people are gonna get those figures in the first place, and they know for a fact we're gonna buy it anyways. I mean, it's not a secret, right? We're gonna buy it from overseas, because that's the only way we can get it. So I think the question should be to those stores, you know, what is the assurance that we have if we pre-order this figure when we get it? You know, can you guarantee replacement or anything like that?
One thing you could say too, Leo, and I'll let you jump in real quick. Sorry, is like, what he's saying too is not necessarily abnormal. So it's like essentially, like, because, you know, Dante, like, you work with Josh from Comic Concepts, right? Like, if I buy something from Comic Concepts, I have to go directly through him. If I try to go to Sideshow, they're going to say, go to who you bought it from, right? So that's what's happened. Like, I had a Darth Vader I bought from him. A lightsaber came broken, and he got a replacement for me. But even from buying someone in the States like that, it took like a month to get that replacement, right? Like, if I Right.
The difference is Comic Concepts. If it's Sideshow, they have support from Sideshow.
Exactly.
They have support.
But it sounds like John's going to work with the retailers. Like they're going to work with the retailers, like how Sideshow would work with Josh, right? Like that's what they're going to do. Like, and they're going to say, okay, like you have this issue, we're going to replace the body or whatever, and then send it to you. But that could take time. If they got to send it to Kit, and then Kit's got to send it to you, that could take a month or two. I mean, like that's, so I mean, that is something to consider.
But Will, that's why I asked him, can you recommend us a retailer? So we know that you're working with them. And his answer is no, because technically those retailers are not supposed to sell outside of China.
Right. Kit's not really supposed to. Yeah. But
and he made a point in basically saying that they're not supposed to, sell outside of China. Which we know one company that, literally I took advantage of it because it was a cheaper price. I mean, hell, I think everybody would have done the same thing. I mean, I did. But they did that. You know what I mean? So you can't take that back. It is what it is at this particular point. What I wanted to address is because somebody in the chat said, I'm not here to point anybody out, but I think pretty much everybody can read. Was that we wait for him to leave to have this discussion? No, the thing is, we can't have this discussion with him if he only has like a certain amount of time, because then it goes overboard. So we have to limit the conversation when we're talking to him based off of the questions that we asked. We're actually, because now we have time to really discuss and talk about this. So that's why we're having, because I'm pretty sure these are concerns that everybody out there has as well. So we're actually gathering around to have a conversation. Maybe one of us comes up with something that can give a more clear expectation and understanding how the things work, such as either Dante or Optical or Will. That's why we're having this discussion now. It wasn't that we probably would have said this thing or these things in front of his face if we had more time. We didn't have
respectful too, because there's
another
panel
exactly, and really it's not attacking. It's just fair criticism. It's a matter of like, I feel like being balanced and being fair and like being objective about it. Like, because I'm really excited about the InArt products. Do I know that they're going to be good? I don't, but I mean, I've had Queen Studio statues and they're great, and I'm really excited about what's coming. But there are some concerns here as far as like replacements and things like that. I mean, and Joao, thank you so much, Joao, for sharing this. I know he works with Kit some. He said Kit does have a contract with Queen Studios and InArt, but he doesn't know about the others. So I mean, it's I'm assuming the others probably do too. So like I said, Optical, it might just be similar to how like Comic Concepts, for example, works with Sideshow. Like it might be like that, but it just might take longer.
The thing is, when we ask him, it's different when like Lyle said, like they're going to Vegas. It's different when, let's say, I'm a samurai aficionado and then I bought an imported samurai from Japan. That is my fault. Why did I buy from there? Because I'm looking for a specific one. They're heavily advertising their thing in here. They want us to purchase this. So it's kind of like, hey, we're gonna do this. Then but something happened. It was like, well, we're technically not supposed to. It's like, what? Like, well, technically not supposed to sell there, but don't worry, we have an event coming October 8th. So that's kind of like, all right, Matt, dude. I mean,
it's the crazy part about it is though, bro, it's like, honestly, like if you're a company, then you do as much research as you can. Now, one of the things he said was, when it comes to figures and controversy, they look at that. But it should also stand for certain companies. If you know that a company, there's a lot of controversy with a company, you're going to decide whether or not you want that company to distribute your pieces, or if there's a level of honesty there. So when you make that statement, you got to know that, okay, there's one company that didn't adhere to your policy as far as selling outside of the of Hong Kong and stuff like that. So that's why, like I said, right now, it just is slightly messy. It's slightly messy when it comes to communication. I guess things will get better. And again, they're new when it comes to 6 abuse. We just got to kind of wait and see. But damn, like there's a lot of things that are still, under the radar, and it's, a lot of red flags that I got out of a nice conversation.
Yeah, because the statues are really no different in layout. Like, because essentially, like the Joker I bought, right, the artist edition Joker, I bought it from Primo Collectibles in Malaysia. Like, if I have a problem, that's gonna suck, right? Because it is that way. But Carlos dropped an interesting super chat. Thanks so much, Carlos. We know now we're on our own 100% from here out. Don't PO with InArt if you're uncomfortable with what you learned today. If you're still going to PO, then I don't see the reason to complain. Yeah, I mean, you kind of know. But I don't think there's going to be no support. Like, I don't think John answered it that way at all. Like, I don't think he's saying, like, you have nothing. Like, if you get a broken figure, Sorry. Like,
Yeah.
I really don't think it's going to be that way. That's not how he answered it. I think he said basically we're going to work with the retailers and build replacements based on what the damage is and things like that. The only thing he slightly said was like, that was concerning to me was like a local repair and things like that. Like, I don't know if any of you guys have local people around you that can repair shit like that. I mean, not me. So,
no.
so I wouldn't accept
definitely
that personally. Yeah.
Right. You know, the way I see this, you know, the way he answered is very diplomatic, obviously, because, you know, he doesn't know, you know, who are we buying from these figures, right? He cannot say, oh, I recommend this, I recommend that. You know, essentially what he said is, okay, you guys, if you guys are going to buy from any other seller overseas, make sure you do your homework, make sure you buy it from whoever you're comfortable with. So that's pretty much the end of the story. I don't think we're going to be on our own in terms of if something goes defective. It's like, oh shit, we're going to have a broken figure. Obviously, you know, you're going to get some type of assistance from the person you bought it from, you know. But again, you know, he was very diplomatic, and, you know, you cannot recommend anything, you know, unless you have something signed and officially with someone. And that's exactly what he did. So I think I take it that way. I don't take it. I take it more on the positive than the other, like, negative side. That, you know, we're gonna order from whoever we want. You guys make sure you do your research. Who you're gonna buy it from? You know, ask the question to the seller. Who are you gonna get the figure from? Just to be sure that in the event something goes wrong, you can get some type of assistance. And also bear in mind that it's gonna take probably longer to get your replacement part. You know, because again, it has to be shipped overseas, and you know how that works. So it's gonna take longer.
Yeah.
I just wish, like, because when I asked the question, I knew their license is only China. I wish he would have told me his Chinese retailers. He'll be like, well, these are on our website. There's like a list of our Chinese retailers, because he knows that we know that we are going to import this. He knows we know that those guys are not supposed to sell us here in the US. Yet here we are, right? Like, we're not dumb. We're trying to import your product. Tell me who you are supporting in China, and we're gonna buy from them. You know what I mean? Because I know that if you're supporting them in China, we know that they're gonna get the parts. But like in this case, like, you know how furious you are when you get a third party and things are not working. You're like, fuck that. I was like, this is bullshit. And that's third party. And imagine buying $1,000 Joker, and then the neck doesn't fit, and be like, well, technically you're not supposed to. Technically, they're only supposed to sell it on China. It's like, we know what's going on here. It's like, we know what we got signed up for. So let us know who you're working with, China, so we can buy from those guys in China, because we know they're gonna sell it to us. Like, that's what's gonna happen here. We're not buying drugs. We're buying toys. It's just like, come on,
right?
And I agree with that comment.
Yeah, and Arima did mention that. Yeah,
and again, with that being said, I mean, I understand that. Look, we got to wait and see once we get the figure. I get that, you know, the Joker, once we get in the hand, you know, and who knows, maybe there won't be any issues. Maybe they, you know, what they stand by is to make sure that we do have a superior piece where we don't have to worry about these conversations, but it's always good to have it. It's always good to really have these sort of conversations so we can take from it what we will. Again, not every question sat well with me. I mean, not every answer sat well with me, that is. But it is what it is. I mean, I appreciate your honesty. Now I know going forward whether or not I want to choose to really support the company or not. Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is. So you've given me that, you know, I now have that choice, you know, more so than any. And I know where you stand. So that's, you know, not John for himself. Again, when we're talking about these things, we're not saying it because John, he's not InArt. He's just somebody who's speaking on InArt's behalf. So nothing against John, period.
That's cool.
You know, at all. He's a cool dude. You know, I mean, I talk to John all the time. He's a cool dude. Nothing against him. It's just the company that he represents. There needs to be some more clear cut, you know, answers and a level of understanding so we'll know. But I guess it's and on top of that, if you're going to the Vegas event, maybe you can ask more questions then. You know what I mean? I guess you can, you know, up front, you'll be able to meet some of the people that are there representing the company. You just making sure, I mean, you can take it from there. I guess.
And for me, like, Superior Display is asking a really good question, just to be direct about it. Are y'all seeing many red flags? Not really. I mean, I think this is pretty much what I expected. I think this is what I knew going in. Anytime you're buying from a reseller, you're always taking that risk, right? It just, you know, and And this is like sort of with InArt, it's a very much in like an inception incubation type period, right? Where it's like you're taking a risk. Like you're like an early investor, basically. Like you are, you know, if you're buying something for $500 and there's their first 6 scale figure, you really don't know. I mean, you know, their statues are great, but we don't know how the figures are going to turn out, right? So for me, to me, the way, like I said, I'm not as concerned about them, you know, because I kind of expected that anyway, in terms of like if you have a damage or something, right? Like I knew if I bought something from Kit Chen, even if I got Game Toys, right? Like it's going to take a while to get a replacement. And I'm rolling the dice a bit, right? Like that's just how that's what I expected with InArt all along. So, I mean, it's because they don't have an official US distributor. So to me, nothing's a red flag, really. I think this is what I and others probably should have expected anyway.
Right.
So if you've been around a while,
Right. No, I agree with that. Plus, at the same time, you just keep in mind they're a brand new company doing 1/6 scale figures, and they already know how critical we are in the 1/6 community.
Right.
So they know that they if this up, it's gonna be the end, or almost the end. You know, a lot of people is gonna get turned down. They're gonna start canceling orders. You know, if that, I'm not gonna get this. So I have a feeling that the QC is gonna be really, really in depth. It's not like, oh, you know, they have to make sure that everything is really, of course, it's going to be an issue like always. There's never a perfect figure. Someone is going to win the lottery. They're going to get something broken or something defective. It's going to happen, right? Because QC works like that. Sometimes, you know, somebody just, oh, it's good, but maybe didn't realize that a peg was broken, didn't realize the magnet was, you know, not glued properly or something, right? It's going to happen. But I think the percentage is going to be very low. I think. I can be wrong, but I think the percentage is going to be very low. And I do think that these sellers in overseas, they probably going to buy directly from Queen Studios too, because they have the access that we don't. So they probably most likely going to be able to help you out. But again, time is going to be the issue here. It's going to take longer than usual, right? And depending on who you buy them from, you might get a figure or you might get a star credit.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
That's only, I would say, I wouldn't say red flag, but a bit, I guess, disappointing to learn that it feels like, you know the things that you're going to get through. You know you don't have license here, yet you're going to sell here. It feels like they don't have a plan for that. You know what I mean? Like if you're acting like you're Ferrari, you got to act like you're Ferrari. If you're charging like you're the Ferrari, then give us a Ferrari service. Because right now, that's why I posed the question, why are you 30% more than Hot Toys? Well, Hot Toys is the king. You know, it's like asking for more salary than Michael Jordan, and you're not even Michael Jordan. So you're acting like, you know, you're up there.
Top tier.
Yet you they don't have a plan to back it up. Or maybe they do, it's just maybe not communicated properly, perhaps. But you would expect something concrete. And I'm not saying it's like, hey, buy from Kit Chen's, you know. Be like, hey, you know what? These are our official distributors in China. David SMA. We support them. But if you buy from here, we're not going to support you from there. We can read between the lines. You don't need to hold my hand. Like we know what we're getting ourselves into. We know that you don't have license here. We know this is imported. We know it's going to be expensive. But if you're acting like you're the big boss or you're this elite, and then you tell me, well, you know, you got to do your research and due diligence. It's like, what?
The one thing I would say though is like, jump in real quick, is like, the one, I think this is pretty close, like, because this is exactly what J&D did. J&D came out of nowhere and said, we're going to charge $2,400 for a third scale. That's crazy, right? For third scale prices. Like so they did the exact same thing. So I will say that, like, and people didn't really, maybe it's just a different community, right? People didn't seem to have a problem with that, right? Because I guess it's silicone and whatever, right? And glass eyes, whatever. It's a little more recognizable, but InArt's kind of taking the same approach.
So I ain't got those problems.
Yeah, I don't either. Carlos does, not me. But I think it's the same thing. Like J&D Optical came into the statue game and started charging what a half scale costs for a third scale, right? And they were charging a lot more than Prime One and, you know, XM and Iron Studios and all those companies, right? And even Infinity and that type of stuff. So I think they've taken a similar approach. You know, they've just come in saying, we got quality and we're going to charge for it. And people will either jump on or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
we'll see.
I just wanted to ask, it could be a silly question, but let's say John says, okay, I'll recommend XYZ reseller and ABC seller, retailer, whatever in China. But can they also sell here in the US? Because that could be the problem. Okay, that could be the reason why he can recommend, because maybe
Right.
those cannot sell into the US.
Right.
But the resellers can, because resellers are really not associated with anybody. They're just resellers. So
But I would
that's
say,
probably
like,
the reason why.
if he said, like, because Kitchen is what, located in China, right?
China, right?
If
Yeah,
he
China.
says, if he's told me, was like, well, you know what, technically these things are not supposed to be sold in the US, but in China, our official distributor is Kitchen. He's not supposed to sell it there. I can read between the lines, just kind of like telling me, buy from Kitchen.
Right.
That means we're supporting Kitchen. Kind of like, hey, you know what, Kitchen technically can't sell it, sir. That's kind of unfortunate. But in China, we will support him fully. If there's something wrong, then we give him the parts. So that in my mind was like, dude, you don't need to fucking hold my hand. You're kind of telling me you support Kitchen, so I gotta buy from Kitchen because he has the parts.
I think with licensing too, like John wants to be really careful, and I think also with other retailers that are carrying the product, is like, well, why didn't you recommend us? Like, I think like it could create a whole can of worms, I guess, or open a can of worms.
If they put that on their website, he doesn't need to tell me this. He'll be like, hey, just refer to our website. Like, if you're from China, these are our official distributor. Then we look at that. I was like, all right. Cool.
That's true. China, they could have official distributor in China. Yeah, that's true. But then that company couldn't sell outside the country at all.
Right.
I'm sure they kind of want to find that gray area. Like they don't want to promote sales outside the country, but if it happens,
if you happen
who's
to see
to
us in
say?
Vegas,
Right.
Displaying the products that you technically can't buy, then
because they want to go global. Yeah. John even referenced that. He was like, yeah, we want to get licenses in the States. So, I mean, do you guys, and last question before we end this, do you think Sideshow would realistically carry in our products, or would that be more like, maybe it would be like Comic Concepts with Dante, or maybe it would be Big Bad or Spec or something? You think it could be someone like that, or would it have to be Sideshow?
Dude, I don't know.
It's a good question.
Because would Sideshow want that, with Hot Toys being like their baby daddy, so to speak? They don't want to
technically have 1/6 while Hot Toys has 1/6 of Warner. Like they can they technically coexist? Unless maybe Warner drops Hot Toys, right? Like that's the only thing that I can think of that they could technically carry them.
Maybe like HBO Shop or something could carry like the Game of Thrones figures or something, like I don't know, but I don't know how that would work with replacements and such. Sideshow was the most equipped. I mean,
Right.
I can see others other than Sideshow having that license for now. Maybe just because of Hot Toys, because that could be the reason why maybe Sideshow doesn't, or maybe they won, but they can't because of Hot Toys, because it's gonna be a really direct competition, right? That's a good question. I really don't know. I mean, I don't know what terms of the contract they have with Hot Toys. I'm assuming that they're exclusive, very, very exclusive. And the way Sideshow has been doing things with Hot Toys lately, I think they may not want to pursue that license here, but I can see other companies like Comic Concepts, Spec Fiction, or Big Bad trying to get in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless if it's like they have the license to distribute in the US, I think somebody would get them. But if they don't, like if they're kind of acting like Spec, which is kind of like, Big Bad won't touch them because they still depend on Sideshow. Like you don't want to get Sideshow mad at you and not bring you Hot Toys, So
that's true. Maybe Sideshow is like, y'all better not carry that InArt license
if you
want Hot Toys.
You won't be able to sell this anymore.
Right.
So those guys were like,
they could do that.
That could be repercussions, yeah.
That's what it's looking like, bro. I mean, it's like, I guess my question is, would they even want to? Or do they want that smoke? Not really knowing,
good point.
Again, like if they run into issues and there's no clear cut, answers as far as replacements, even if they don't know whether or not there would be, do they want that? Because you just imagine like how many pieces we get over here or they distribute and they come back defective, and then they actually report this over there to the company, and they're like, well, one-offs right now, we can't really let you know. We don't have the pieces, or we don't have those parts, or just imagine that. Like, as a company, would you want that? When you have more security from a company like Hot Toys, that will supply, what you need at that particular point. Like, I mean, I guess that's the question. You know what I mean? And the only thing that we can do at this point is see basically how they do it. Who's going to fight for that, distributing right. I don't know. It's questionable for me. I guess we'll know once we get that Joker in hand, bro, and
Yeah, we
once
will.
we get that in hand, then we can basically determine.
And Leo, can you imagine like Hot Toys calling in? It was like, so you want us to carry your Joker, and we put our 30% in, so it'll be 1,300 now.
Yeah, right.
Tax and shipping. So yeah, we'll see you at 1,500.
Exactly, right. Boy, you know
Or
how
maybe
much of a
it'll be somewhere
conversation
around
it'd
that.
be.
Yeah, I mean it. Yeah,
Damn.
maybe. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming those companies are already putting their own percentage on it because Kit, for example, Kitchen includes shipping, so he's got to ship it to the U.S. So his was like 1,096. Maybe the NR price they gave him was like 800 or something. I don't know, and they had to, or less. So I don't know.
No,
I think they're all putting their own little spin on it. But guys, great discussion. Thank you everyone in the chat for dropping some seriously great comments and reactions and all that good stuff. Dante, dude, thanks so much for joining, man. And I know I'm going to be on yours Tuesday. I'll be on Lael's Wednesday. But what's coming up on Man of Hot Collectibles?
Dude, thank you so much for the invite. It was a fun show. I mean, really good questions, good discussion. I love kind of debating and having these conversations, man. It's good. It's good for us, but it's also good for you guys watching at home because you can, again, we can be right, we can be wrong. This is really not, who's the winner of this. It's just kind of sharing our thoughts because at the end of the day, the more information we provide to you guys, the more knowledgeable you become and better decisions. You can make better decisions as well. And of course you're gonna learn from our mistakes because as soon as we make a mistake, we're gonna be the first one to say, But good conversation, good stuff. So yeah, Tuesday we're gonna have a Between Collectors show special edition. So this is gonna be the very first special editions of this show. So I'm trying to do this. I mean, obviously not on a monthly basis, but maybe depending on certain occasions, I might do special editions. Meaning we're gonna have a large panel of amazing YouTubers. So stay tuned for that Tuesday 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'm gonna do the review of the Stormtrooper Chrome version this weekend. I'm waiting for the Boba Fett and Throne to ship. Hopefully tomorrow will ship, and then you'll see the review. Mojo cases are on his way finally after 50 years of waiting. So I should get them by Wednesday. It's gonna take me probably a few weeks to put together because again, I'm gonna revamp this little office here. So stay tuned for part 2 of the collection tour because let me tell you guys, it's gonna be a lot of cool stuff in that. I'm gonna make a lot of changes here. So hopefully you guys like it. I know I'm gonna like it because I already picture everything how I want it, to look like. But thank you so much for the invite. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook group, and TikTok.
Nice. Well, thanks much, Dante, for joining, man. It's always great to have you. And like I said, I'll be on yours on Tuesday, so it'll be a blast.
Yes.
And so Optical, dude, thanks so much for joining, man. How's everything going on the channel? Do you have anything coming up?
Man, trying to make things spicy around here, but but yeah, no. I'm gonna reissue my previous review of Tactical Suit. If Hot Toys can make reissue, I want to reissue my review, so free content for me.
That's how you do it.
Hey, that's how you do it, man. But I'm gonna repaint that thing and just put a new color grading in that bad boy. But
2.0, baby.
2.0. Yeah, no, I'm just got Rick Grimes. So I'm happy about that. I'm telling you, man, you gotta rewatch Walking Dead season 1. It's gonna bring back, some memories.
That first season is so good.
Dude, Morgan, when he was shooting his, oh god,
yeah,
give me the chills. Now I want to buy Morgan.
Buy Morgan just for season 1. That Rick Grimes is really good, man. He's super cheap. So yeah, but a few reviews here and there, but yeah. No TikTok though, like Dante. No TikTok from yet. I need to pursue TikTok. I've been thinking about it. Well, I gotta. But yeah, once Lael's done, I'll talk about my Instagram and everything. But goddamn Instagram, dude. Anyway, Lael, dude, thanks so much for joining as always, man. What's coming up on the 1/6 Scale Man channel?
Not too much, man. I mean, tomorrow we have comic book talk with friends, of course. Then, which you on Dante's show. After I receive a call from his lawyer on things that I can and cannot say, and things that I shouldn't have revealed. But yeah, I can't wait for that. On Wednesday, we have, of course, Say What Wednesday. So that's going to be interesting. What do we have? I think we have Uncivilized on Mario's channel because, again, we know Andor drops this week. So I'm excited about that. Next up, after that, of course, we have Figure Flex Friday, and then Collectors Lounge International. We are still going on full-fledged right now with the Halloween initiative up until the 1st of October, so definitely that's going on. Still some spots open for the Iron Scavenger from Jazz Inc. So if you want to actually go on a raffle for that, there are some spots available. You can go on the page, pick a spot, let me know, and I guess you fixed up there. And yeah, a couple videos going on, but again, I'll probably be still putting together these Lego pieces like throughout the entire week. That's therapeutic for me. But yeah, man, thanks for having me, bro. Definitely being on the panel with both my bros, Optical and Man of Hot. So definitely, I appreciate that, man. So yeah, let's go.
Yeah, man. Well, it was awesome having you, Leo, as always, man, and like
always,
great questions and insights. So
yeah.
And guys, like I said, my Instagram, I'm creating a new one as of now because I'm locked out of my goddamn account and I can't get in there. Instagram has no customer service. Yeah, I don't know how it happened, dude. I just got locked out, so I can't get back in.
Wow.
So I'm creating a new one and just gonna have to roll with that for now. So
they found you on Tinder, bro.
Clearly, bro. I don't know. Some shit, but I don't know. But guys, thanks so much for joining. Like I said, I'm glad we were able to have a civil discussion about all this stuff, and yeah, man, it's always fun. So guys, let's chat next week, Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And of course, like I said, I'll be on Dante's, I think it's 8 p.m. Tuesday, right, Dante?
8 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday. And Lael still waiting for my lawyer to okay that.
Send the lawyer, send the legal papers.
The lawyer, legal papers
like
come through first. That's why he asked me at the very beginning. He's like, did my lawyer contact you yet?
We're trying to make sure we have
got to work out
everything in order.
The logistics. But and then layouts, I'll be on Wednesday 9:15, and maybe Optical will do a pop-up stream this week, and I'll be on that. So
Optical need to do something. He need to actually get back in contact with me, man. Because come on, man. Like, what's up? I mean, come on, man. Straight up. The basketball season hasn't started yet. It started soon, right? But that started yet.
Man, I'm on Bramble, man. If you want to
yeah. But all right, guys, that's going to be a wrap for us for this show. We'll catch you in the next one, and hopefully we can have John back on soon and answer some of our questions and concerns. So I guess we'll find out. Anyway, peace out, guys. Bye.